Yes, this is a tie-dye shirt. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is update number 3 on the cab over and the Roadster. Let's go ahead and get over to the workbench and see the work that we got done this week. Alright, so we have got quite a bit done this week, and we're going to start with the beast of our working on the channel. What we're doing right now is this massive undertaking of the White-Freightliner cab over. So as you can see right here, I have literally turned this truck into a lowrider rollback. As you can see, I got the fender skirts on it. Did that like a couple of days ago. And so I just finally got that done to where it looks like the back end is lowered. We already know the front's lowered. We looked at it last week. Haven't done a whole lot as far as anything around this area. I did do some painting. Some basic painting on the interior. Got a lot of dust on it. There's a lot of work that goes on trying to get all these pieces in the right place. So if you look at it right here, you see I got some steel bracing here, which, you know, it's all styrene, but in a one-to-one, you got to have your headache rack, so to speak, because you're going to be hauling your car. And you can see I got paint on it. I did primer everything black. So this is how the car's going to sit on the truck. And so I haven't got any tie-down things here yet, but that'll be next week. But right now, so it's just sitting here, and of course all this is going to get painted flat black also to get it all primed up before I paint it. But I didn't have any of this stuff on there when I primed it. All I did was prime the chassis. So I'll turn it over and show you all that stuff in a second. But this is how the Roadster's going to sit, and as you see, I got plenty of room here. I'll be able to sit a longer car. I'll grab my Impala. Some people say Impala, but I'm from North Carolina, so I say Impala. You see, I got the Impala sitting here on the back of the flatbed, and you see that it fits. Like the front end's hanging off a little bit, but if I had to haul this car somewhere in a one-to-one, I would be able to haul that car. So it's definitely long enough. We got plenty of room for it. The only test would be really to see, I will check it to see if the Silverado will fit on this thing. So let's see if the Silverado fits. It's got these giant tires on it. And it barely fits. So even the Silverado fits on the bed. As I said, it's hanging off because it's a long vehicle, but the tires are on. That's all that matters right there. The truck does fit on there. I will spin it around so you can see that I did have to make the bed, the rollback bed, a hair bigger than the truck. I wanted to make it the same size like it would be in a one-to-one, but in order to get these cars to fit, it made sense to make it just a hair wider than the cab so that it would all fit on there. And this tire seems to be, it looks like it might be sticking out a little too far because everything else is fitting except for that one tire. So that might be in the craftsmanship of that build. Anyway, so we got us a nice rollback here. You can see the skirt on this side done the same way. What I did is I did the first skirt and I literally just glued it onto the frame with regular liquid cement, and then I put a tire. I put one of the loose tires I have left over of the truck, not this one, but just a loose tire over here, and then I drew the whole circle around it. And then I took the tire off the rim and just put the wheel on there and just the rim on there, and then I drew that circle, and then I erased the top half of all those circles and connected the big part of the circle from the tire to the small part of the circle for the rim. And that's how, and then I slanted it to give it that lowered look that you see now on here. But there's no frame behind this except, I turn it over. You can see the frame back here. That's the only frame I got right now. I plan on building like some boxes in here, and then this will get cut to where these will hinge open and be like little toolboxes. So that's probably a week or 2, 3 weeks down the line, because we're going to get it close to finished before we start doing that stuff. Right before painting, then we'll start adding the toolboxes and stuff. Every time I get to another spot on this truck where I'm like, hey, that's what I want the truck to look like, I end up finding something else to do to the truck to make it look more custom. So I could leave it like this, just paint it out and be done, but I would love for it to be just like the real deal, where it's got the toolboxes and the straps and stuff in there. So, of course, you know, I like realism, so I'm going to go the next step and do that. I made this so it would be a working rollback. So I pulled the truck up a little bit, so I can take it right here, hold this part of the frame. It's all black, so it's hard to see, but this part is the tilting mechanism that I built. So I can just slide this back until it gets to here, which is the end. The way I've built the frame, it won't go any further, so it won't fall out. And so it tilts like that. Then you would drive your car up on it, and then you would strap it down, chain it down, whichever. Then the bed tilts back up, and then you slide it up as far as it needs to slide, which we got to put our exhaust right here. So there's going to be exhaust, a little bit of a catwalk there, maybe a toolbox, I'm not sure, see what we can fit in there. The tilting mechanism that I built. So what I did, I can show you right here. If you see, I just got small styrene tubing. Let me find a stock piece. So it's just that. Just a little small piece of styrene tubing. And that's square tubing. Let me find the pack. There it is. So 1/8 inch tubing, and I found out that, oh, I dropped something. I bought a regular pack of paper clips, and if you bend those out as straight as you can, as I didn't have access to any wire, I didn't go to Home Depot or anywhere like that and find the right size wire. Usually you have to buy like a whole giant roll of wires, like $10 or something. And these right here, tons of different uses. Use them for door hinges and stuff like that. And so I decided I was going to try out the door hinges with the paper clips. And since I'm doing that, this metal is really, really sturdy. I decided to run a paper clip bent straight out, and I run it straight through the tube. Well, I had glued this tube solid to the tilting deck, and after I glued it solid to the tilting deck, I had also glued a tube to the chassis here. So there was 2 tubes. There was one that was glued to the tilting deck, as you can see, this one, and this one is glued to the tilting deck, and then this piece is what's left of the tube that was glued to the chassis here. So then I took my little saw, this little guy, and I cut the a section out on the chassis first, and removed these 2 pieces from the chassis. But then I measured them and lined it up with the tilting deck, marked the lines on the tilting deck, cut the center section out of the tilting deck, and then when I put it back over top of this tube, they all lined up. So then all I had to do was take my paper clip, which I had bent straight out, slide it through the side all the way through, and then I'm able to tilt the deck. like that. And it's really sturdy. You see it's got a little bit of play in it, but that's just because the paper clip is a little bit smaller than the hole of the tube. So could you find a bigger piece of wire so that there's no play in it? You definitely could. And that might be something I do in the future, but right now, this is the most cost-effective way for me to do it. So I did something that wasn't done last week, is the suspension for the back. I did have these little rubber grommets I found. I don't even know what they're for, but I found these rubber grommets. And I was going to use those as airbags. But with it in the raised position, it made the truck have too much of an incline from the rear to the front, so I didn't like it. So I just got it with the look that the truck is slammed and the airbags are fully depleted. And since it's under this whole the rear deck and the skirts and everything, you can't see it. It's just they're glued together, and all those is wheel backs for your rims. I found some nice size wheel backs. I trimmed them up, stuck them in there, and I had to sand them down to get the right height I wanted, to get it so it would be level, and just glued them in there together. And you saw last week the rim was not glued to it and it wasn't painted. So I went primered everything, flat black, because that's what I wanted, the color I wanted the chassis. It's just a nice flat black color. And then you see what frame I had at the time that was done. All of this was painted separately. I did have the tilt deck on here when I painted it, and so I just let it dry, tilted back, so that it didn't stick to anything. That's pretty much where I've gotten so far. Is got the tilt deck on here, so now it is a fully lowered cab over rollback that I can put practically any car that I build. The next step to do on this is I'm going to do some wood grain on it, which I already have some stain. I can't remember exactly what color it is, but we're just going to go with that color stain, so I don't have to buy another stain just for this little job here. And so we're going to stain the wood after we get it all sanded, and then we're going to have little strips like this, and all of this come from 2 strips. So these 2 pieces and this piece are 2 strips. And the way it works is, I'll show you the leftovers. This is a leftover piece. These little corners, leftovers. Here we go. Those pieces are leftover pieces after cutting that out of this. And this is at Walmart. It's just in the craft area, really big. Looks like a tongue depressor. But got a whole pack of those. I think they were like $2 for a whole pack. So I can wood grain several of these big trucks. And not expensive at all. So what I'm going to end up doing is going to offset the wood grain so it looks more natural. So it'll be like a long piece, a short piece, and then the next one will be a short piece and then a long piece, just so that it offsets it back and forth. And in between every one of those, just like it is on the wood decks that you've seen on the regular pickup trucks, it's going to have a chrome strip. So I don't know if I'm going to use the wood. I'll see how it does when I spray paint it, the chrome paint that I have. So we'll see how that turns out. If it looks like aluminum, we're going to go with it. But it needs sanding down, and it needs a little bit of trimming. It's slightly too long. It's just a hair too long. But I've got to finish cutting all these out so that we can go all the way across the deck and see if any of them need to be trimmed. That's what I'm working on next week, is to get the wood grain deck done. And then I've also got to flat black all this stuff, just so that it looks the same color as the rest of the truck. Now, when I did the flat black on the cab over, I haven't taken the tape off the chrome, but it looks like one of those Mad Max vehicles. and it makes me want to buy another one of these trucks just to do like an apocalyptic truck. I think that is going to look cool. So it won't be anytime soon because I got so many other vehicles that need to go on the channel. But we will build another one of these white Freightliners in the future, and we will put another one on the channel and build it completely custom too. If you look right here, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. A little bit of light on it. There we go. I did primer it. I haven't sanded it, but you can see there's a little bit of difference in the surfaces. So I'm going to do a little sanding there, hit it with a little more primer, and try to make it to where it blends in. We'll see how that works out in the following week. But so far, that's the only blemish on the whole truck. I do plan on cutting the doors out because I am going to try to hinge everything that is supposed to hinge, including when we build the toolboxes. I'm going to try to hinge those. I'm really trying to go all out on these builds that if it's supposed to work in real life, I want it to work on my model. And so what you're going to find yourself doing if you're trying to build skirts like this, you'll build one, you'll put the tire, put the rim, and you get that all cut out. And then what I did, so that I could do the other one the exact same size, instead of trying to just take another piece of flat styrene, lay it on top of here, cut this out and set it over there, in case the axle might be slightly shifted one way or the other. And to make sure I got the design in the right direction, I made a template. So from now on, I can do this for my skirts on my trucks and get this the same size on both sides. So when you go to the left side, you would put that on top of the styrene, trace your line out, cut all that out, sand it all down. And then when you're doing the right side, you lay that on top and cut that out, trace it, cut it all out. And that, I'm keeping that for quite a while to do future builds on. Okay, so I'm going to make skirts on those. I painted the 6-cylinder engine this moon yellow, which kind of looks like the Caterpillar yellow. It's just all painted a base color. I haven't went in and detailed anything. I literally just got it painted, finished painting it last night. I think it turned out pretty good. It really looks school bus or Caterpillar yellow. I think it came out pretty good. I did do the interior. I got it all put together for the most part. I did go ahead and flat black the floors. I just wanted those to be flat black. They are on most occasions just a dark color. And so I'm going to go with a two-tone paint. I've got me some samples here that I was looking at. And I know you can't tell what colors these are, but I'll tell you guys next week. I was just labeling them with the numbers because one, it takes up less tape. And trying to figure out which color I wanted to paint the interior. I think I'm going to go with this darker color here, maybe with a white trim. So like a little bit of white, one of these white colors here. Those are actually two different white colors. I really can't tell the difference. This one actually looks a little bit whiter. Looks a little bit brighter color, which I'll probably go with this dark tan color. I think that's like a caramel color, it said. So we'll do the interior like that. So it's looks kind of like antique. It looks old, and make it look classic. So I got the seats done for the interior. That is everything for the truck, and we're gonna move on to the Roadster. So if you see the Roadster here, I did cut out the trunk lid. That's this guy right here. This is the first thing I cut out to see if I could cut it out. So when I bought my saw, first thing I cut was the trunk lid on the Roadster. It came out great. I tried it with the hobby knife at first, but that was like going to take literally forever. So I got that little saw, the micro saw, and this the small one. It's very, very thin blade, about the size of the hobby knife. So I just took my time going around the lines. I find it easier to take the hobby knife and trace the line, and just it makes a little bit of an indentation in that line, and then come back with the saw, just one strip at a time, just nice little, literally just hours and hours of cutting. So I got the trunk cut out. I'm not sure which way I want to mount it. I think I've seen them before mounted like that, but I know people do rumble seats, and this is not for that. This will be a trunk. So probably just going to go with the typical trunk latch to where it opens up towards the interior of the car. And the reason for that is I want to show off the cool stuff that's in the back, the gas tank and the battery box, which I had to move because I raised the rear end into the body. So I did, you saw it earlier, but I did flat black everything on here except the cross member. And I'm having an issue with the front suspension because it is very finicky. It's these little tiny pieces. I suggest not putting this on the chassis till you are ready to assemble it, because I've already had to glue this one on because I broke it off trying to tape it up. And then this one, I don't know what happened, but it got aggravated at me and it started to fall off. The styrene started to break, so now it's got glue on it. So it's trying to hold together. But apparently it keeps getting tilted this way or that way. I don't know how. I'm just setting it on the workbench here. And so it's all flat black, ready to go. See, my finger touched it. That's all it took. Very, very finicky styrene. So if you're going to be doing custom work, just do the tack weld like I did with super glue. Check your fitment, see what you want as far as how it looks. Take it off and leave it off until you're done. Or you're going to end up having possible issues with it breaking. I cut the door out. That was one of the next things I cut. Was I decided to go ahead and cut the door. And what we're going to do is we're going to have suicide doors on this. So you see this is my little handle hole here. I'll have to transfer that. I'm going to have to sand these little hinges off. And we're going to suicide door it on both sides. Now, I've only cut one side of the Roadster out because you see that's the only thing holding the other side is the door. And so what I'm going to do is I'll put this back in place with some tape. I will get the hinges all lined up, get them all glued in place, which I'll show you guys how I do that. I will video that part. I've watched a ton of people on YouTube about how they do hinges, and everybody does them different. I did find one guy that seemed to do it where I could understand it pretty good. Took a lot of pictures, so he will get a shout out when I show how I did the hinges, and I'll show the pictures that I screenshotted of how to get this done, and maybe some of my comments on how it worked out for me. But so we got that door cut off, and this is the interior for that. So I cut one piece of that. It still needs the other piece cut, and that will be the interior of this door that goes like that. Now I do notice that for the channeled version, this is not as big as the door is, so we're going to have to address that once I do the hinge, and we'll see how that looks once we do the hinge on that. And this is the back piece of this here, which goes just like that. Fits inside there. So that will get glued in place once we get the door all lined up, so that we get the fitment right, get it where it's supposed to be in there, sitting nice and pretty. But I do want to show off this gas tank and the battery box, so holding it like that, painting it with some flat black. So I got to finish painting that, then I'm going to detail it, get it all nice and pretty, or if I don't detail it, there's really no use of opening the trunk to show it. But so I did that to the Roadster. That's all I did on the Roadster, except this beautiful engine, which I started detailing. And I had somebody on my Facebook group ask me how I'm going to paint it. And I literally used paintbrushes. I used some toothpicks to get some paint down in between the blower motor and the valve covers. And it wasn't too difficult. So, I mean, I could definitely build it like this again. But as with the cab over engine, it is not the easiest thing to do without getting paint on some of the stuff. And so I will probably not build the engine all the way up again. It was just to test to see if it would be easier and quicker to get it done, I have painted the whole engine and transmission a gloss black, because it's going to be a show engine. It's going to be fully displayed in the front of the car, just like this right here. So I wanted every part of it to be shiny, and I'm going with some old school colors for the car and for the cab over. So I wanted to try to make it look older, not weathered, so to speak, but to have a different look than just all chrome. And so I actually went with, you can't see what color it is because the paper's tore, but it is turn signal amber is what color it is. So it's a very metallic enamel, very metallic yellow enamel. It's really pretty. I put it on all the turn signals I do that are supposed to be a yellow color. It really works nice. And so it pretty much almost like made it like a chrome, a goldish, a gold chrome color. I'm not sure how to say it, but it kind of like made it look gold. I think it gave it a nostalgic look. It's not, everything's not blingy chrome, you know. And I did flat black inside the intake here. I did flat black the carburetors, like those demon carburetors. I've seen in pictures, they do make black versions of those. Flat black all the pulleys and the belts. I got to go back and detail all of that. Not sure if I'm going to leave the breather chrome or if it's going to end up getting the copper color that's going to be going on the as the trim for these two builds. I am going to do a lot of copper on these. I know the exhaust is going to be copper, and so we'll see what else gets copper. You know, in my head, the guy that owns all this paid a shop to build all this stuff for him. And so he definitely doesn't have any wrench time in it, but he's got tons and tons of money involved in it, where you got these master mechanics building these amazing machines. And so when we get done, it'll look like somebody spent $200,000-$300,000 on these two builds to really bring out the nostalgic look of the 29 Roadster and taking this cab over, which is probably like a 70, 80 model cab over, and taking it back to the old days, to where everything's like retro, but it's still got, you know, a new Caterpillar engine and all that kind of fun stuff. So definitely got a lot of work done this past week for you guys, so I could upload on the channel. And if you guys have any question about the tilt bed mechanism that I didn't address, or something I may have forgot, if you would like a little bit more in-depth on just like a really super short video on how I built that, I could definitely do that. Just leave it down in the comments. But we are really getting closer and closer to getting this build done. But like I said, every time I go to build something and I put a custom touch to it, it's like I think of something else to do to it. So that's it for the update this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed seeing this video. The ton of work that has been put into the cab over, and a lot of the custom work that's been put into the Roadster. That's all for this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next video.